Capítulo 12, Huascar, the 12th Inca, the one who led the empire to its destruction. Atahualpa, the last Inca who never became a sovereign, and Francisco Pizarro, the Spaniard who ended with the Inca Empire. So we're actually coming to the end of the book, really, or the end of the Inca Empire. The Inca Empire finished with basically with the 12th Inca, although we have 13 Incas with Atahualpa, but Atahualpa was never crowned, or well, he never received the crown, the Mascai Pacha. So I combine this chapter into three because it's interrelated. You have the 12th Inca, the one who led the empire to destruction, which is Huascar, the sort of legitimate son of Huayna Capac, who stayed in Cusco. And of course he does a lot of things that eventually ended up in the destruction of the empire. Now, Huayna Capac had another illegitimate son, Atahualpa, who took to Quito, Ecuador with him so he could learn to be a warrior. So I call him the last Inca who never became a sovereign. Actually, this is the Inca who got killed, or in the rescate that they call it, the exchange for his life. So he was never crowned, but we called the last Inca in a way. Then of course Francisco Pizarro, the Spaniard who ended with the Inca Empire. So this is very much interrelated. That is why the 12th chapter is a long chapter and includes all three of these in between and in between the lines, and one is coming, the other is going, one is taken prisoner, the other is killing one, the other one is fighting for his life. So I hope you put up with me and follow this chapter, which is really the essence of the end of the Inca Empire.
Estamos a 24 de abril del año 2018. Estamos con el doctor Carlos Sánchez, ¿no? Y estamos entrando al capítulo quizás más emocionante porque es el encuentro de los dos mundos. El mundo, el antiguo, el viejo mundo y el nuevo mundo, el encuentro de los dos mundos, ¿no? Y vemos a personajes, ¿no? Vemos al imperio inca dividido, ¿no? Está dividido el imperio inca, ¿no? Me gustaría que nos dieras, ¿no? La personalidad que le distingue a Huascar y la personalidad que le distingue a Atahualpa, para que la gente lo pueda tener un poco más claro.
Professor Fuentes, it's asking me to more or less give the personality of Huascar, Atahualpa, and Francisco Pizarro. In fact, that's what's going to happen as we read. But in essence, Huascar was a prince that was very spoiled and very kind of wicked. He had a lot of women. He even went to bed with the virgins of the sun, and he was not well liked by the community of Cusco, especially Panacas of dynasty, which by now are 11 Panacas of dynasty, which are all against him. So he has to in order to get his political agenda, he has to fight against all these Panacas. So it was very difficult for him to govern. He made almost enemies with all of them. But as soon as he got the crown, then he started to do all kind of bad things against almost everybody that led him to follow the wrong of the Inca Empire. So in essence, the personality of him is, what we could say is a bad Inca in a way. Atahualpa is a typical warrior of the Incas, very strong, very willed, and sort of a kind of dictator or very strong in his commands, and also very astute, and also very intelligent. He learned to play chess, and supposedly he beat most of the intelligent guys in there, which Hernando de Soto, a chess player, and then the brother of Francisco Pizarro, Hernando Pizarro. So he's known for that. He knows already what the Spaniards are all about, and he tries to show to them, like in the Bible, he says, well, if this is the word of God, well, let's hear what he has to say. So that is the personality of Atahualpa. He's a very good warrior, astute, very smart. Francisco Pizarro, well, like all conquerors of the old world, he was a mercenary. He used his powers as much as he could. He killed a lot of people. He didn't care. At the same time, it's strange. Well, it's not strange. At the same time, I think he had very much in communion with the Incas. He liked Cusco. He liked Peru. As a matter of fact, he is the one who never returned to Spain. He stayed here. He married with an Inca princess. He had a daughter who married his brother. She ended up in Spain, Francisca Pizarro. So it's ambivalent, you know. In one side he's killing Indians, on the other side he's marrying them, and he's began to be part of a dynasty. So what can you say about what can we say about his personality? A typical mercenary trying to gain in every way he can. So, chapter 12, Huascar. The 12th Inca, the one who led the empire to its destruction. Atahualpa, the last Inca who never became a sovereign. Francisco Pizarro, the Spaniard who ended with the Inca Empire. So we begin. It is the beginning of the third millennium, and I am at the close of my trip into the past, a world unknown to me until in my innermost I felt I needed to find out what befell to my ancestors centuries ago, and what will happen to our descendants in the years to come. It is important to understand our history in the context of our short existence, to leave our thoughts so that future generations can judge our ongoing saga according to the thinking of the passing times. Huayna Capac was baffled upon the hearing of strangers, and his desire to encounter them left us in doubt of the circumstances in which he died. Did he succumb to the new pest that the Spaniards brought to the New World, or was he at the same time of his illness poisoned by some of his many enemies? This dilemma is best left to historians. The fact is that Huayna Capac expired far away from the seat of power, leaving a fertile ground for revolt by those close to him, who by then, although from Cusco, were outcasts of the nobility of the imperial city. In the midst of his delirium, he had told his advisors that Ninan Cuyoche would inherit the crown only if his augurs were favorable, if not, to pass the crown to Huascar. But Ninan Cuyoche died also of the same ailment. Huascar, you are now the Zapaica. Nobles, you have heard the news. From this moment on, things are going to be different in the empire. Let us prepare to receive my father's entourage and send word that my brothers must attend to his funeral. What is to follow are the intrigues between two siblings, Huascar and Atahualpa. Meanwhile, Francisco was getting ready for his third expedition. In the journey to the past, I find Francisco Pizarro in the medieval cathedral of Trujillo, Spain, commanding his soul to the same saints that his predecessors have prayed. He is wearing a black robe of the Order of Santiago, an ancient canon of knighthood founded in San Juan de Compostela to safeguard the sepulchre of the Apostle Santiago. Here we have Francisco Pizarro. as he was painting those days. As I listened to the cathedral sounds of the same pipe organ that came in his childhood, I see Francisco fervently looking at the effigy of a defiant warrior saint, charging on a horse against the Moors, while pointing a sword to the skies. The very same statue that one time countless of Trujillanos implored before taking the lonely road to Sevilla on their way to the Indies. Francisco has turned to his roots as an hidalgo, or son of somebody, to ask the Christ of our burdens to help him in the conquest of Peru. The solemn mass over, I warily approach him in a manner of our Indian upbringing, the submission to the white conqueror. And here's the picture of Santiago, the most revered saint. Don Francisco, I am Kuntursoul, a descendant of the Incas. I come from the future to find out who you were and why. I have seen your bones in the Cathedral of Lima, but I want to know about your soul. I hope I will understand the reason for this unusual trip to your past. Who are you who wants to identify with this large vulture that I have not yet seen? Don Francisco, it is after that great bird that I have named myself the soul of the condor, which is the desire to fly in the emptiness of our nothingness over the mountains of treachery. Que va, hombre, what are you doing in Trujillo? You have a semblance that is very familiar, although not like the ones I have seen. Definitely you are an Indian, are you not? Yes, I am. However, in this encounter, I want to be treated as an Inca descendant and not as an Indian. Damn, I'm confronting a man of the future and not an Indian of the past. Man of the old world. I hope you keep that in mind for the reminder of our encounter. Coño, I have been dead for 500 years, not knowing if what I did to your people was good or bad. That you will have to ponder for the rest of your eternity. To me, you're an enigma. I don't know if you were an evil person or a man of your times. Tell me, who are you? Vamos, hombre, what can I tell you that you don't already know? I prefer to talk about my adventures. Then you can decide who am I and why. For sure, no hijo de puta, pero un hombre con cojones. It is the year 1529, and I find myself in Spain after 27 years of absence from the mother country. We have just finished our second expedition to the land of your ancestors, and let me tell you that getting to Peru was the most desperate moments of my life. My God, I'm 52 years old, and I should be commending my soul to the Almighty. I have spilled so much blood, and I don't know if I want to talk about my life. Mierda, I could have lived comfortably for the rest of my life in Panama. Instead, I squandered all my fortunes in this madness of conquering the empire of the Incas. Don Francisco, you knew of the rewards. Otherwise, you would not have proceeded with that venture. Yes, but in the end, I lost everything. No, because you will live forever in the page of history. Nevertheless, I understand you were in awe when you had your first glimpse of a great ocean on the other side of the New World. Oh, el Mar del Sur. Yes, the Pacific Ocean. Tell me what was like that moment when you and Balboa realized that there were more lands to conquer. I was not even thinking in those terms, but Balboa was, after hearing of a civilization farther south. He recommended that the government be moved from the east side of the peninsula to the west coast for the explicit purpose of exploring the southern hemisphere. The king sent Pedro Arias de Avila to govern Panama after we founded in the year 1519. Balboa explored only to Puerto Piñas in the Gulf of Panama. After more failed adventures, Pedro Arias, as the governor was called, entrusted Pascual de Andagoya to continue exploring. In 1523, he reached the mouth of the river Viru, where he found a tribe under the cacique Virujet or Peruquete. Hence the lands to the south were called Peru. There he heard more news of a rich empire, and Andagoya fell ill and he had to return to Panama. Those unfinished expeditions and the knowledge of rich lands waiting to be conquered prevented me from dying in oblivion, like the rest of those who had come to the New World to be rich. I was a nobody when I was born. I knew I wanted to be somebody. Now I am a man of titles, and I haven't even conquered Peru. Don Francisco, how did you get the land of my ancestors? After the unsuccessful attempts of Balboa and Andagoya, no one had the foresight to undertake this venture, but I did. To make it possible, I needed partners. I found the vicar of Panama, Hernando de Luque, whom I had known in the Darien. Can you imagine a man of God with a desire of conquering, and why they called him Hernando el Loco? He had money or connections to people who had. Then I recruited another ambitious man, Diego de Almagro, to be in charge of finding, equipping, and supplying the vessels needed for the expedition. How about you, Don Francisco? Were you that immaculate? What were you going to do? I am not free of human faults, and I don't hide them either. In my case, I became the sole captain. Once the partnership was formed, Almagro began to look for a boat in the steamy coast of Panama. He saw Balboa's original craft that was rotten and waiting for someone to revive its truncated glory. 10 months later, the embarkation was put in ship shape to navigate the Santiago. Meanwhile, we were able to cajole 114 soldiers, if we want to call them that, because most of them were fugitives of the law. With inexperienced men, meager supplies, and a few horses, we left on our first expedition on November 14, 1524, but not before receiving the blessings of the Almighty. Don Francisco, you chose the worst time to unfurl the sails, as mentioned by the chronicler Pedro Cieza de Leon. You encounter contrary winds and their currents, making your boat a mere cork lost in the tempestuous southern seas. How was supposed to know? We didn't have an experienced pilot. We had to make our own chart as we sailed south. Initially, we navigated in known waters, arriving to the Isla de las Perlas, which was inhabited by Christians who at one time made their living from the bounty of pearls, and it became a supply port for our future expedition. Once replenished, we crossed the Gulf of San Michael to Puerto Piñas. Then we marched by the shore of the river Viru. We met the subjects of the old cacique Viruquete or Peruquete, who ran away from us, thinking that we might harm them. We were just looking for food and friends. Friends, Don Francisco, they knew that you massacred the natives. What did you expect them to do? Welcome you as the Redeemer? Coño, they were no different than the savage who were decimating in Panama. After a few days, we turned with some maize and few specks of gold. Practically without supplies, we continued south looking for a place to replenish. But the savage and the jungles made it impossible for us to disembark until we saw a stretch of land that seemed to offer some hope of finding food. We found none except some mollusks and acid palm nuts to eat. We called the place Puerto de Hambre. We stayed a few days and proceeded south. Seeing only dense forests, we returned to Port of Hunger, where we could at least eat the angry crowds and acid nuts. I had already lost one Spaniard and more waiting to die. With no end in sight to our misery and facing a possible mutiny, I decided to send my second in command to get some supplies in the Isle of Pearls. Thinking that it should take him no more than 10 days, it took him more than a month to return. Since this is a sole trip, let them tell you of their ordeals. Montenegro, why did it take you so long to come back? Capitan, we encountered storms and strong currents that prolonged the short trip to the island. We saw little food. We had to boil the leather of bilge pumps with some nuts and eat that acid soup. But here we are. We're bringing you some pigs that had just been brought from Spain. Mierda, when you were gone, I had lost half of my men to hunger and rare diseases. I have also suffered as much as they did. Yes, Montenegro, Don Francisco took no special privilege. He endured everything like the rest of us. He deserves to be called El Buen Capitan. Yeah, you cursed soldier. Now you call me the good captain, when you were the one close to mutiny. Let us eat, then continue. So far we have advanced only a few more leagues than Andagoya did. I promised I shall never return to Panama empty-handed. Man of the future, as you have heard, and against all odds, we arrived to a place that we call Virgin of Candelaria. 2.5 months, and all we had encountered was death and misery. This was not a virgin place, it was a hell. So many mosquitoes and heavy rains that it made it impossible for us to stay. I exhorted my soldiers, hombres, let us go inland. Who knows, we might find Indians. We turned 12 leagues and we saw huts that were abandoned in fear of us. In their hasty retreat, they left gold, maize, and some kind of meat that tasted like our pork. Did you decide to stay since you found food and gold? No, because we also noticed in their boiling pot hands and feet of other savages. We thought that they were the same cannibals of the Carib. My crew became very concerned for their lives. We took whatever we could and ran before we ended up in the same pots. We renewed our trip south until we saw a forest that had been burned. We call it Puerto Quemado. Having encountered no resistance, we stayed to repair our boat that was in need of changing some rotten timbers. I sent Montenegro to find Indians to do the work. However, the savage had been following us, and they came to our post to kill us. I got hold of my sword. I confront them, but the bastards were so many that I knew I was fighting my last battle. Montenegro, who just happened to return, saved my life, but not before I got an arrow that penetrated deep in my thigh. They pulled the arrow, but they also tore my flesh. They poured boiling oil into my bleeding wound. This one time only, I cried my lungs out, not of cowardice, but because I knew I could withstand pain. My men understood that my determination to preserve was unbending. and this message was sealed without burning oil. When I came to my senses, I knew that we needed more ships, men, supplies, and horses. I decided that Puerto Quemado should be the end of our first adventure. We returned north to Chochama to organize a second expedition. Why was the place burned? Was it an act of nature? No, this time lightning had nothing to do with the charring of the forest, but with the savage. Why? Because from the time of Columbus, we have been stealing from the Indians. In revenge, they put on fire their villages so that we could not have any other possessions. The savage of Puerto Quemado heard that we did what we did with them, and they burned whatever they had. How else can one treat these Indians if not by exterminating them? Isn't that what our descendants in the 21st century are doing with the natives who are not savage anymore, or are they? Don Francisco, they are no longer the savage whom you knew. They are now the Indians who believe in your God. Coño, that is sacrilegious comment. The world is for the fittest, and why we have religion, so that the weak can hope in the hereafter. The priests do a good job of preaching to the Indians of humbleness. In a way, they are the same butchers that we are. While we wear armor and steel helmets, they dress with silky robes and fancy hats. As you can see, they are the strongest without having to use raw power, but utter the name of God. Don Francisco, that is not becoming of you. You are a religious man. Indiano, I believe in God, but not in some of the other clerics. After all, I honor my king. But do I care for his bureaucrats? Let us stop this discussion. You also have to respond to your readers, who are going to be harsher on you for undermining their beliefs. As I was saying, in our last desperate moment, we sailed north from Puerto Quemado to Chochama. From here, I sent the leaking Santiago to Panama with a few of our loyal men needed for sailing. I knew that if I let others go they would spread rumors of all our misery that we're going through, and no one would have wanted to come for the second expedition. I sent our accountant, Nicolas de Rivera, to give an account to the governor of the possibilities of striking rich. I remained behind. That meant nothing to me. I wanted glory to bring to my family, king and God, and God, so that I would be an hidalgo. In the Isle of Pearls, Nicolas de Rivera was told that Almagro had already sailed to join our expedition. We went after him, but we did not see him. We thought that Almagro was probably going on his own. Let him tell you about his odyssey. Oh, you are the man of the future who doesn't know whether to side with the Spaniards or the Indians. I know your predicament. I also have a son with an Indian woman of Panama, but you are only a descendant of mestizos. Does that make me a lesser a man? In my times, you would not have been considered a human being. Almagro, that must resonate with you, because you were also despised by your own people. Man of the future, let us continue. There isn't much I can do of what they wrote about me. For this second venture, Pedro Arias let me recruit 60 men. We left to the Levante. And here we have a picture of the first trip and second of Francisco Pizarro. We left from the Levante, Panama, which was the starting point of the expedition to the Poniente, the land to be discovered. On this, my first voyage, we departed not knowing the whereabouts of Francisco. We sailed past Chochama, and we saw none of them. Previously, we had decided that as they were advancing to make marks with their swords on the trees, so that we would know where they were. Following the markings, we arrived to Puerto Quemado. Not only found the graves of some Spaniards with their shoes hanging from their crosses, I knew that he had been there, and they probably were all killed. We also noticed that the Indians had been following us, and they showed up from nowhere to attack us. As a good Spaniard from Almagro, I confronted them, but I was overtaken and I passed out. Out of fear? No, an arrow hit in one of my eyes. Our black slaves saved my life. When I woke up, the Indians were retreating. Jesus, my eyes were gushing. My eye was gushing. I knew I had lost it. Which one? Indiano, it's not enough that I lost one eye, and I still have the other to see the light of God, to save the Indians from the darkness in which they live. Almagro, how I wish they had emptied both of your eyes, so that your soul without vision felt that we were and are human beings. Mierda, if I were to tell you of the pain I suffer, you will not desire that on anyone. All I know now is that I am one-eyed man, El Tuerto, and my destiny changed. Yes, it did. You are not going to die from the arrows of the Indians, but by the sword of your partners. I knew I had enemies. Knowing what had happened to us, we thought that Pizarro had the same fate. We sailed farther south until we ran into the mouth of the large river, which we call Rio San Juan. The Indians didn't seem to be aggressive, and they were dressed. We entered their village and took all the gold that we could find. We were too few to stay and to keep on going. I decided to return to give the news that Francisco's first expedition had failed and initiate the second excursion. Once in the Isla de las Perlas, we heard that Rivera had gone to Panama and Pizarro stayed in Chochama. We immediately crossed the Gulf of San Michael and found Francisco with very few of his men. Almagro, what happened to you? You have lost an eye, and I almost lost a leg. Only God knows what for. These places are not for Christians, but for these devilish Indians. No, Francisco, I went farther than you have gone. I saw Indians who are different than the savage that we are used to. We should go back to Rio San Juan with more resources and continue south by land or by sea. Then you must return to entice the governor to let us renew the exploration. I will wait for you. In Panama, Almagro went to see Pedro Arias, who had already heard of the loss of men that he himself needed to fight his insurrecting captain in Nicaragua. He didn't want to hear any more stories of the failed expedition. Governor, I know that Francisco hasn't accomplished much, but this is just the beginning of our venture. I have seen vestiges of civilization that will make us rich. Here is the goal, to prove that what I'm saying is true. You should be the last one to speak. You have lost an eye. What do you want to lose next? Your life? If I do give permission, it will be under another captain or a different expedition. Pedro Arias, you also have illicit money invested in this adventure. not awarding to something you want to take possession of our association. I am a man of God. I shall not absolve you of your sins unless you let my partners carry on with your second expedition. Look, I will let Almagro go only if I name another captain instead of Francisco. Why would you want to do that? Pizarro is loyal to the crown and the church. Be reasonable. Why not name Almagro? You will have a second captain who is one of us. Father, under those conditions, I will let Almagro and Francisco continue. For this second voyage, they drafted a new contract, the Enterprise of Peru. In the absence of Francisco, someone signed on his behalf. Almagro put a sign on the cross as he could not write or read either. The influential Luca was able to obtain illicit money and get another boat. After a short cruise, he was certified seaworthy and named the San Cristobal. Almagro recruited 160 men. The experienced pilot Bartolome Ruiz and the well-known artilleryman Pedro de Candila. According to Dutuburo, Pizarro had been in Chochama 6 months. Almagro spent 3 months in Panama, and 9 months later, in December 1525, he sailed to join Francisco for the second expedition. Francisco had taken 114 men in his first expedition, and he lost half of his men. The new venture would consist of 210 men. The numbers are conjectures. One more or two less didn't change history. It just tells the minimal cost in life that it took them to find and destroy an empire. Thus, man of the future. In my absence, and after partaking of the sacred bread, they swore allegiance to the new enterprise. Again, your partners involve God in the liquidation of human beings on his behalf. Alma del Condor, we did anything for God, king, and honor. Killing was part of it. It is the passion for these ideals that you Indians lack, and why you are still the same savage that we knew. Let us continue with our second voyage. That is a story to tell, because we suffer as much as all the weight in gold that we took from Peru. What do you have to say about the misery that you caused our people? Que va, the Indians were never our concern. We only wanted their souls for God. There is no hypocrisy in expressing what you felt about them, unlike others who don't say what they think and they do exactly what you did to the Indians. I would say the same for you, who belittle me with your knowledge, like some Indians and mestizos who use their education to undermine their own people. Incas and Francisco, mierda, pretty soon you are going to ask me to call the Indians Spaniards. Many of them would like nothing better than to be called Hispanics or Latinos, as is happening in North America. I don't sanctify myself. I was one of them. But thanks to the great ideals of my adopted country, it has taken me a long time to accept part of my mixed lineage. Perhaps it's all right to be called Indian, as long as one is treated as a human being. You are contradicting yourself. You said that you want to do away with the word Indian. Now you are telling me that you wouldn't care if they called you by that surname. By definition, if you are an Indian, you are not a human being. At least, they were not in my times. Francisco, we're back for the second excursion. What happened to your men? The few that we had left are sick and some almost died. Almagro, in the time you were gone, I kept some of them alive against their will. Well done, Francisco. We're back with an experienced pilot who has something to tell you. Capitan, I have heard of your great feats of valor. However, you will no longer be the only one leading the expedition. Almagro has also been named the second captain of the Enterprise. Pilot, you should know that Almagro is only my partner. Between us, that is true. The governor will not have let us come unless someone different than the two of you be the sole captain of this expedition. Almagro, I don't understand what this pilot is saying. Francisco, what Bartolome Ruiz said is true. If were two captains, it is because Luque told the governor that I also be named the second in command to keep the enterprise among partners. Thus, man of the future, on January 1526, we sailed from Xochama and disembarked in the delta of the river San Juan. We tried to make contact with the savage, but they ran away, leaving gold and plenty of food. We caught some Indians who told us of the great cacique Bogota, which was farther inland. In 3 canoes, we entered the dark swamps, but we could not advance in these ungodly marshes. I stopped to appraise our situation. We had lost half our men. The rest were sick and hungry. I felt that this was far enough for now. I told Almagro to go back to Panama and Bartolome to continue south. I would remain in the delta taking care of the wounded and burying the dead until either one returned. As they departed, I could see their flimsy ship disappear into the horizon with its sagging sails like handkerchiefs waving us the last goodbye. Sometimes our farewells were forever. After a few days, Bartolome saw the uninhabited isle of La Gorgona. Then the inhabited isle of El Gallo. On November 21, he passed the equator by 0 degree, 5 minutes of latitude. Don Francisco, those 5 minutes in the cartographer's lingo would signify 5 centuries of sclavization for the natives. Who cares of the fate of the Indians? In those unknown latitudes, at the girth of the world, on December 3rd, Bartolome's men saw an unusual embarkation. Piloto, look out there, una caravela. Hombre, how could that be a caravel? No one has navigated to these oceans. Let us see who they are. And here's the caravel that they saw. Yeah. Piloto, it is a balsa loaded with cargo. Its handlers are waving at us. They are not savages. Mariner, I will put beside them and you can board the contraption. Piloto, there are 5 adults, 2 youngsters and 3 women. Look at all these gold and silver objects, even a Roman-like scale. You can come aboard. No, we will tie their balsa to our boat. They can take us back to where they are coming from or tell us where they are going to. Bartolome had encountered a balsa traders from Tumbes in the lands of Peru. This momentous event will represent for both the last minutes of their longitudinal and latitudinal innocence. Once on their ships, the natives showered the new pirates with presents from the cargo that they were taking to Quito. Indians, tell us, where did you get this gold? And who makes these colorful clothes? What is this scale for? Who are you? Show us the way to your lands, then we will take you to our captain. Strangers, what you are seeing is nothing. There is much more in the land of the great Huayna Capac. His warriors have conquered all the way to where we're going. If you climb to the mountains, you will see a lot of what we're bringing and hear more about him. Not knowing, Bartolome had crossed the great circumference of the earth by 0 degrees 28 minutes latitude. He saw a prominent cape on the coast and he called it Cabo Pasado and continued south. This is a map of the second expedition of Pizarro. Piloto, how far are we going? We're already 1 degree 35 minutes past the equator. The Indians are anxious that we disembark. Mariner, we have evidence that these lands are different. We will anchor in that promontory that we'll call Cabo de la Vuelta, and then we will return. I am eager to tell Francisco how far we have sailed and show him all this merchandise. He is going to get more information from these civilized Indians without the need of torturing them. As you can see, man of the future, Bartolome had coasted from Colombia to the north of Ecuador, and he was the first one to cross the equatorial line. Don't forget that the natives had been traveling back and forth past this imaginary line long before you came to these latitudes. What you mean to say is that this was the first time that the people of the old world crossed the equator on the Pacific. Remember, Don Francisco, whatever you are going to see in this land has already been discovered by the New World people thousands of years ago. Indiano, can you understand that anything that happened before us is irrelevant? Thus, we desperately waited for Almagro to return from Panama. Bartolome arrived. My men finally felt that we were into something. Their spirits began to swell, but not their stomach. We had nothing to eat. Piloto, bring me those Indians. Let us hear what they have to say. Capitan, treat them well. They have been good to us. If it were not for them, we would not have gone as far as we did, or bring all these artifacts. Great Piloto, we will be good to them if they tell us what we need to know. Tumbesinos Indians, tell me, what is your kingdom like? Do you have an emperor? If you have one, where is he? Capito, or Capitan, we have a lord greater than anyone in this land. He is the master of all there is. Mierda, these Indians seem to have a lord who is very powerful. Captain, that is what they are trying to tell you by signaling a crown on their heads and not in yours. How come we tell them that our emperor is more powerful than theirs, and in time they will get to know why? Capitan, they seem to say that no one can upstage their lord. If we try, we will all be killed. Hell, you don't even understand what they're saying. Capitan, can you see that they're making a sign in their necks with their golden knives, which they call tumis? I see what you mean. Ask them, what is the name of their lord? Capito, he's the great Huayna Capac. With the help of their translators, the Spaniards were able to get more information that was not difficult to obtain. Their questions were always related to gold and the strength of their warriors. Kuntursoul, I must go and confront their lord. Don Francisco, if Huayna Capac is alive, you are going to encounter the whole Inca army under his command. You will not have a chance against him. Then I better wait for Almagro. Capitan, we all want to return to Panama. There is nothing in those swamps but pestilence and mosquitoes. Vamos, hombres. Almagro will be here with all that we need to continue. Do not despair. However, nobody knew his partner had ever reached Panama. Almagro, what are you doing in this island? Francisco thinks that you are in Panama getting supplies. Kuntursoul, the king of Spain has sent another governor to replace Pedro Arias. I don't know if he's with us or against us. I was waiting to see what happened. You have come in time. Lucas sent me a letter saying that the new governor is in our favor, and I should depart immediately to see him. In Panama, Pedro de los Rios listened to Almagro's plight, and he promised to assist with the enterprise. Look, we need more men, and no one wants to come. Diego, the governor brought with him 40 Spaniards who are looking for gold, and some are priests to Christianize the savage. They cannot argue against coming with us. Almagro sailed directly to Rio San Juan on January 8, 1527. Almagro, I thought you had abandoned the expedition. You are also the other captain. Francisco, we have a new governor who for now is willing to help us. Otherwise, I would not have been able to come. What happened to all of you? You are also emaciated. Look, the men are eating the rations that I brought like there is no tomorrow. Soon we will be out of food. Who are these Indians? They are like the savage we are used to seeing. Where did you get them? Almagro, let me rest in your boat. The mosquitoes are eating me alive. Once they recovered, the two captains were ready for the next stage of their expedition.